welcome back to another Music Maker guitar video. Today I wanted to talk about a good solid practice routine. I have a pretty intense one that I go through myself. So I'm going to show the list up here. But this is just my list for this week, so just keep in mind I always change it. Something that keeps you on top of your game as a player is like working on another skill that's different. So something like something that I was working on a lot last week that I'm not working on so much this week because I want to get into other things is like slide guitar. Like I'm not really doing a lot of my slide guitar exercises this week because I went really heavy on those last week. So I might play more slide this week, but I'm going to go a little easier on those actual techniques and maybe work some other things instead, just to, again, keep it fresh for myself this week, and maybe I'll do something else with the slide again next week or something. You know, you always want to change it up. So something that's always on there for me are fundamental fingerboard exercises. So like, first thing, this is something I give every student on day one, just to like first set your amp really like good and hot. I like the treble up, I like the bass down for practice because you're going to get more of the overtones. Tone all the way up to 10, maybe volume 4 or 5 is totally cool. You want to always have headroom to have some louder notes in there if need be, especially if you're like in a band or something. You need to get up above a drummer who might elevate their volume. So, you know, I have my volume actually pretty low, but yeah, I think that's really kind of a good place to have it. So, again, amp's pretty hot, and then you can control the volume with the guitar, but I like to have a nice loud volume here, and then just practice from string 4, finger 1, 2, 3, 4. Just making sure that you're playing everything with no string noise. None of that. No like lifting up sounds, no overtones, like no open strings. So you're like practicing muting all of those, which is why I kind of use the 4th string, because that'll create other vibrations on the instrument, so you can cut those out. And practice muting, you know, that's a really big thing. So practicing just 1, 2, 3, 4, scooch up a fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, keep scooching. And what you're practicing is like even volume, even tone, muting out any of those overtones or like notes that might ring out when you don't want them to. And then another thing is even volume. A lot of people have like trouble just keeping the same volume when they pick. So you just want to make sure that everything is the same volume. One more thing is like if you're practicing electric guitar, on an amp especially, you get like at fret 7 is louder than like fret 4. I'm using like the same velocity with my pick, so you have to pick a little softer when you get higher up the neck. So like as you're practicing these things, like when you're here, you can pick everything relatively same with your right hand, but by the time you get to like here, this finger is soft. I'm sorry, this finger can be louder, and then these other ones have to be soft. So you kind of have to control your pick a little bit as you're getting into these other territories that might change volume just because of the range of the guitar that you're on. So that's a really good practice for that. I have a more advanced one for that as well, but I'm going to skip that for now just so we can get through everything that's in here. Because again, like if you're just kind of starting out and you just want to figure out how to better your practice routine, that's like first thing. I always do, for me, like I do, again, like an advanced version of that, but it's always like just practicing having clean tone and just making sure your notes are always like ringing really nice. If that 1, 2, 3, 4 thing is really easy for you, one that's like kind of harder that I give to people sometimes is try like 1, 2, then back to 1, 3, then 1, then 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4. Then backwards, always do opposite. So that's something I do every day. Then the next thing that I always do is an arpeggio tree. Now, I've been focusing on the main 4 like jazz chords for so long, so I think I'm going to start adding to my arpeggio tree. Again, like something that you should always do is evolve your practice. Now, if this is really complicated, I would just suggest like working on a C major arpeggio. C, E, you can play those on the same string. You can play like fret 8, fret 12 on the E string. Then on the A string, fret 10. Then on the D string, fret 9 and then 10. Then G string, fret 9. B string, 8 and then 12. Then E string, fret 8. And then backwards. That's just a basic like major arpeggio that's on one string. If you want to go really, really in depth with these, I would definitely check out my website. I have a packet that goes into like inversions of things. But now the tree principle basically means you use every chord that starts with a C. You can use every chord that has a C in it and then use C as the lowest note. This may be another way to think about it. But so like another major 7 chord that has C in it would be like A flat 7. Right? That chord also has a C. It's the 3rd. So then you play that from the 3rd up to the 3rd. So 3rd, 5th, 7th, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, root, 3rd. I know that I'm just kind of going through that kind of fast. This is just part of my routine. Again, if you're interested in like more of this stuff, just go download my packet, and there's like a bunch of these shapes that you can work with. Anything, yeah, there's just a bunch of these shapes that's in there. So I would practice. I think it takes a while to get used to each one, and then you want to get used to the sound of each one, and then you want to analyze what notes are in each one, and then you'll have an easy time kind of putting together this tree here. But I do like, so major, C major 7, A flat major 7, F major 7, and D flat major 7. And then that's root, 3rd, 5th, 7th of a major 7 chord. There's only 4 notes in a major 7 chord, so that's all 4 possibilities that you have that can start from C. Then you do the same thing for like a dominant 7 chord, minor 7 flat 5 chord, minor 7 chord, and like I said, I'm probably going to add like, you always have to add new things. So like for me on this exercise, diminished major 7, augmented major 7, I still have yet to like work on some of those myself. So while I've practiced those chord shapes and I know a lot about how to use them, I just haven't done this exercise with them yet. So it'd be worthwhile for me to go and check that out. So that's my goals. Anyways, third thing that I always put on there at some point is just some kind of classical repertoire. Practice some classical music. It's really, really helpful. I actually have a video that I did a couple of weeks ago about how to play Bach. So that's a really, really good thing to practice. And that's like Bach is my favorite. In fact, when I'm doing more Bach things because I just really loved going back and reviewing that piece. So I went ahead and dug this book out. This is just a bunch of cantatas, and like I'm keeping it simple. And anybody who's practicing anything like this, you should always do like the easiest version of this that's possible, because you want to really learn it on a deep, deep level. Now, like if it's so easy that you can play it in your sleep, maybe time to move on to something a little trickier. But I always try something really, really easy. And like for me, like these are difficult. But like if I just break it down so that I'm only doing a couple of measures, then that's not so bad. And then I can like add a couple of measures a day. Next thing you know, I've got a full piece of music. So like what I do with these things, these are really tough. But what I'm doing with them is I'll just learn a line, flip to a random page, see if I can learn a line, and then if I can learn like another line that goes in harmony with it, then I've done a pretty good job. And these are what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yikes. This is an 18-piece part. So, like, learning how to play 18 pieces on a 6-string instrument would be ridiculous. So I just, learn 2, so that keeps it really simple, and then it keeps me learning something fresh and new, and I think that's, like, a really big part of it. Fourth thing I always practice is a blues. I'm not going to go into, like, playing a full blues here, but, like, I think there's a bunch of different, versions of these things that are out there that you can play. I always do some kind of blues in my practice routine. Actually, currently, the main thing I'm doing, other than minor blues, is I'm transcribing a lot of blues. I've found that I kind of neglected some blues while I was doing jazz and, like, all kinds of other things for a long time. So I'm, like, getting really, really much more heavily into blues stuff lately. So that said, I do those. Number 5 and 6, I'm going to kind of see if I can go through these really quick. But you'll see on my list I wrote spread boys. They're just spread triads, but I like to practice them like in a scale context. So I start with, again, like I do root, third, fifth on these things. I always do inversions of everything. It really just helps me organize. So I start with spread voicing of, instead of like root 3, 5, root 3, 5, going up a scale like that, I do root, fifth, like a power chord, and then third. So I'm basically taking whatever notes in the middle, take it out and put it on the top. That's kind of the idea of a spread boy here. So that's all that is. So C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, C major, and then backwards. Then I do first inversion, so that's E, C, G on top. D minor, but I'm doing F, then D, then A. Then from fifth. So fifth is on the bottom now, root is on the top, third is in the middle. I just practice all of those. It keeps me organized. And I do those in every modality. I'm not going to do all of them right here, right now, just because this is for your own practice routine. This isn't about me flexing skills or anything like that. But, yeah, that's I do these for, like, harmonic minor, melodic minor, currently working on harmonic major, double harmonic major as well. Those are more of a stretch for me, I'll admit. This is some of these exercises are new for me, is why I'm putting them up there like that. And then the other thing that I always try and do, and this chord progression is kind of based on that like tree principle. I just wrote all chords that had C in the bass, and it's the chord progression that I was playing in the beginning here. But yeah, so I did C7, which I kind of turned into C7 sharp 9. Maybe like C7 sharp 9 altered, Jimmy Herring kind of thing. I love that harmony. But then D7 with C in the bass, right? Or maybe just D triad with C in the bass, right? Then I had D minor 7 flat 5, but root here, and that C in the bass again, then resolving to back to that C chord. So that's my chord progression that I'm just working on for a little bit. And again, I just do these things to a click, and I practice playing to them. This is the fun part of my practice, you know? So I'm going to go ahead and play myself out, but you have a great rest of your Monday. If you want to see any of this stuff in greater detail, please go check out my website. And as always, please like and subscribe and leave me a comment. Ring the bell so you get the latest video. Yada, yada, yada. I'll see you next time.